Out Loud comedy show catches unsuspecting people in some of the funniest situations. It's just for laughs, and it's only here on Cayman 27.
Spa, located at the West End Grand Cayman, 7 Mile Beach Resort and Spa.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. We're Cayman 27, Cayman Informed.
We are coming to you live from the West Bay Assembly of God on the 11th of our 19 Chamber Forums. I am Paul Pearson, immediate past President of the Chamber, and I will be presenting the Chamber and District questions to the candidates this evening. I would like to thank all of the candidates for joining us, and for all of our 19 forums, each and every candidate has received an invitation. The role of the Chamber of Commerce is to support, promote and protect the interests of the membership and the wider island community. This year, and for the foreseeable future, the Council Chamber has focused its importance on education and lifelong learning. Tonight's forum is just one of the many educational initiatives that we have developed, enabling voters to gain information on candidates for over 30 years now. Hundreds of voters have attended these forums and thousands have watched on both Cayman 27 and YouTube. It is encouraging to see the engagement from voters in the run-up to Election Day on Wednesday the 24th of May. Another educational initiative is our Growth Matters campaign, which was launched on April the 5th. The initiative seeks to educate the community and our youth about the importance of economic growth and inform people how our economy actually functions. A series of 10 animated, educational and lively videos were created to explain the stages of economic growth, and they can all be viewed online at growthmatters.ky. Also on the Chamber's YouTube channel and on social media websites. So far, tens of thousands of people have engaged with this campaign, and we are delighted to see the positive impact it is having on our community. But tonight is about West Bay North. Tonight, voters get a chance to learn more about the West Bay North candidates and to hear their responses to a series of questions on national and constituency concerns. This year, with the implementation of one person, one vote, the one person, one vote system, with 19 electoral constituencies, it is more important than ever that voters are well informed. Voters are reminded that voter ID cards are now available for collection. This Saturday, May the 6th, voter registration cards will be available for collection from the Elections Office on Smith Road Centre from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Voters must provide a valid form of photo ID to collect their cards, such as a passport or a driving license. Other information pertaining to these elections, including voting locations, can be found by visiting the elections page on caymanchamber.ky. Tonight's questions have been developed from submissions by Chamber members and the wider community. We will be accepting questions this evening from the audience too, but questions must be directed to all candidates, please. You may also submit your questions for future forums by emailing your suggestions to info@caymanchamber.ky. I would like to thank the Chamber staff for their assistance in organizing these forums, as well as Hurley's Media for broadcasting the forums live on Cayman 27 and online. Special thanks to our corporate sponsors for their support, including the DART Organization, Deloitte, Foster's, Heritage Holdings, and Puritan Cleaners. Mr. Will Pinot, Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, will be tonight's moderator. He will explain the rules of the forum before introducing tonight's candidates.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, candidates.
Good evening.
I'll just go over the simple rules for this evening's forum. Each of you will be asked a series of questions prepared by chamber members and the general public. Candidates will have 2 minutes to elaborate on each question if you choose to do so. One ring indicates that you have 30 seconds remaining in your response time. That basically means by the end of the 2 minutes, you should be wrapping up your thought. So if you go over a little bit of that, that's fine. But over that, obviously, you'll get the second ring. Each candidate will be allowed to answer the question without interruption, and it's free to differ with an opinion of a fellow candidate. The seating arrangements for this evening were selected by draw. And again, we ask that you deal solely with the issues and avoid any personal attacks. And at the conclusion of the forum, each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes to deliver a closing statement, depending on the amount of time we have left. And so after this short commercial break, I'll return to introduce the candidates for West Bay North. Clear.
Eclipse Hair Design and Day Spa. Discover the difference.
Waste Carriers is your complete waste management company. We service commercial, residential, and construction properties. With our large inventory of dumpsters and grapple truck services, we provide an unmatched, dependable service. Our sister company, Island Recycling, buys and collects recyclables such as AC units, aluminum cans, auto batteries, copper, and much, much more. For Cayman's waste and recycling solution, one call takes care of it all. Call 946-DUMP. That's 946-3867.
Some say the time of miracles is past, but we see miracles all around us, every day. Some could not walk. Some could not breathe. Some had lost all hope. But something amazing happened, something that can't be analyzed or quantified. Something that is more than good medicine. Holy Cross.
Welcome back. We're in West Bay North at the West Bay Assembly of God. In West Bay North, there are 1,123 registered voters. And I'm sure that each one of those registered voters are anxious to learn more about their candidates before they make their choice on Election Day. So it gives me pleasure to introduce the three candidates for West Bay North. We'll begin as, I'll introduce them as they're seated. Sarah Orette Ebanks. She's the president of the Future Sports Club and vice president of the Sir John A. Cumber Primary School PTA, and is a member of global organizations including the likes of CONCACAF and FIFA. Ms. Orette Ebanks has served as the office manager of the Cayman Islands Stock Exchange, and she has served as a personal executive assistant to the director of finance at Walker's Global. She also served as secretary for Governor Peter Lloyd, Chief Secretary Dennis Foster, and Financial Secretary Thomas Jefferson. Ms. Orette is seeking election as an independent candidate for West Bay. Welcome, Ms. Ebanks.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is Mervyn Smith. He's the owner of, sorry, I need my glasses, of MJS. I tried to avoid putting my glasses on again. But Mrs. Smith is the owner of MJS Plumbing Limited and has been running his business for the past 14 years. He's been an active member of the Cayman Islands community and has supported various individuals in athletic and other personal pursuits. He has also worked alongside sporting organizations to promote health and fitness to young Caymanians. Mr. Smith is seeking election as an independent candidate for West Bay. Welcome. Our third candidate is Mr. Bernie Bush. He's the elected representative for West Bay He was elected in 2013, and he's the third elected member. He's currently serving as the Deputy Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Bush has been an active member of the community, having served as Director of Pirates Week for 4 years and as President of the West Bay Primary PTA for 8 years. Mr. Bush has also headed the Athletic Association and is the current Treasurer of the Cayman Islands Olympics Committee. Mr. Bush is seeking re-election as a Cayman Democratic Party candidate for West Bay North. Welcome, candidates. I now turn it over to Paul Pearson to pose the first question.
Welcome, candidates. I'm going to ask the questions. I'll ask the question to each one individually, and we will start with Ms. Sarah, and then work to Mr. Marvin and Mr. Bernie, and then rotate the questions as we're going along. So our first question is, explain why you have decided to run for election in 2017, and why should West Bay North voters support you as their candidate of choice?
Good evening, audience, and good evening those in the viewing audience as well. I have decided to run for West Bay North. Excuse me, I'm suffering with a little sore throat. For the reasons that we in West Bay right now are in desperate need of community development. And currently we are needing adult training programs and after-school programs that will cater to kids that their children, their parents are not able to get home from school on time. And these activities will keep them occupied until such time that their parents are home. My reasons for running is because right now I think West Bay North needs my kind of a leadership, the leadership of someone that knows the district and knows that area well. And I am definitely one of those people that knows everyone in my district, but in particular West Bay North, and I thought that that was one of the best reasons for me to run.
Thank you. Mr. Mervyn, same question. Explain why you have decided to run for election in 2017 and why West Bay North voters should support you as their candidate of choice.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone here, and good evening to everyone viewing this afternoon, and thanks to the sponsors and the Chamber for putting this on. I've decided to run in this election, having been involved in some shape or form in the political arena since 2000. I've taken state of check. I've looked to see the progress of our people. I've evaluated the representatives, and over time, I've come to the conclusion that we're not moving forward. You know, I'm offering myself in this election with solutions to many of our problems, that we can move to a point where a middle-class living for every Caymanian is possible. You know, I believe that it is imperative for leadership to lead, and lead by example, and to provide the opportunities necessary for all of us to advance. I sit here and I say, opportunity is the reason I'm here. You know, and it's one of those things that's very near and dear to my heart, that every citizen of the country should be given an ample opportunity to exercise their right to the life that is available here, but it's simply, for too many, not affordable at this time. So I have solutions for the problems that we face, and during the course of this evening and for the rest of the campaign, I am going to be sharing them with the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn. Mr. Bernie, same question. Explain why you have decided to run for election in 2017, and why should West Bay North voters support you as their candidate of choice.
President, good evening, and thank you all for coming. It's very simple. I've been in my community since 1979 working, and I ran for the Legislative Assembly before, and I lost. When I lost, I didn't disappear. I was still in the community every day working with my people. Finally, I got elected in 2013, but got elected in the opposition, where there's no say, there's no power. All you can do is just go out, roll up your sleeves, and work and try. Put motions forward, nothing happens. And with the wind of change in the air, I feel this is a very good chance of, after having 4 years under my belt as in the Legislative Assembly, and having worked in different sectors of in the Cayman Islands, going from sports to the private sector, to the wholesale, working in the petroleum industry, then going back to the tourism sector. I feel I'm well-rounded. I feel that I have the contacts that, God's willing, when May the 24th comes around and we're successful, that we can get things rolling right away to help the little people that need help, because under this past regime, there's been nothing done to help the little man. They're suffering. They're not getting, the education system has failed them, unemployment, and Caymanians are not feeling second class anymore. We're now feeling like we're fourth and fifth class. And it's time for us to come to the forefront and fight for us. We have to stop feeling bad when, or feeling ashamed for us to stand up for our own. I'm not anti-anyone, but I am pro-Caymanian. I have a track record that proves that, with young people, getting them jobs, getting them off to colleges, and I feel with the next step, having all this experience, I can do even more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. So, Mr. Marvin, this question goes to you. The Cayman Turtle Centre is located in West Bay North and provides employment to many Caymanians. If elected, would you support the continuation of the annual government subsidy?
Absolutely. The farm is an integral part of not just West Bay, but of our history. And certainly I would support the annual grant. You know, going forward, I think what we need to do with the Turtle Center is that we need to find ways to make it more profitable. We need to understand that there comes a point in time with any particular project where value for money needs to be achieved. I know the management is doing their best, and yes, we all know the history of the farm. It was really ill-conceived to go ahead and do a facility of that size and put a man-made lagoon in the middle of the Caribbean. You know, that unfortunately, it was supposed to be the selling point, and it was those tickets of the all-inclusive that was supposed to pay for the project. But like I said earlier, not being political about it, you know, it was ill-conceived, and therefore we find ourselves now having to subsidize. But the farm as a whole, and what it delivers and what it represents to these islands, is something that should continue.
Thank you, Mr. Marvin. Mr. Burney, the Cayman Turtle Centre is located in West Bay North and provides employment to many Caymanians. If elected, would you support the continuation of the annual government subsidy?
Yes, and research has now shown there are many trust funds here in the Cayman Islands, and a lot of those funds, people as for tax refund want to contribute to things. We can actually divide the turtle farm into two sections, separate it a little more with the side where they do the research and all that stuff, and then the entertainment side. And maybe we even have to look as far as making that into a real serious water park to really attract people, and even the locals to come there more on weekends and stuff like that. But keep in mind, the past government had the plans for berthing to go down there, where the people would come off the cruise ship and go direct into there. Then they would, if that had happened, if that had not been stopped, this subsidy would not have been necessary. But we have to keep in mind that we just cannot sit down and keep saying we're going to keep on putting money in. We have to look at ways to improve it, not just start back and expect it to do the same thing. So let us stop sitting down and expecting it to do different. We have to look at other avenues. And like I said, having done some research, we can separate and get money for the research side and try to spend more to go on the entertainment side, because tourists are coming here. And it's one thing, they need things to do. They want things to do. The days of people just coming and just sitting on the beach is over. People want entertainment. And a lot of people are coming with their families. And the young children, if you make that park adjusted, that park could do really well, and or even for our locals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sarah, same question. The Cayman Turtle Centre is located in West Bay North and provides employment to many Caymanians. If elected, would you support the continuation of the annual government subsidy?
Absolutely. The Cayman Islands Turtle Farm is a part of our history and our culture. Our ancestors have developed quite a rapport with our people in terms of the fact that right now turtle meat is one of our best cuisines in the island, and everyone enjoys it. However, the money that has been spent recently to upkeep the turtle farm has been draining the government significantly. I would suggest that right now, as I've stated in several of my meetings and my posts on Facebook, that we need to turn part of the farm, which is holding the larger turtle, who do not have a proper place to swim, and place them possibly in the sea pond at the Barkers National Park. Now, research has to be done on that matter. However, I don't feel at this time that the turtle farm should be having the turtle all in one place. And as far as I'm concerned, the World Organization of Animal Protection has stated on several occasions that these turtles should not even be released into the waters anymore, because of the fact that they might just give diseases to whatever other turtles that are in the ocean. Therefore, I don't think that the turtle farm should be stop the funding from the turtle farm. You're having 200 people at least that are employed there, and I would definitely not support anyone or any party that wants to shut it down. It's part of our culture and our history.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to move now on to the issues of education and crime. And Chamber members have identified education and crime amongst the top national issues in this year's election. So our first question is on education, and it's to you, Mr. Burney. What do you think needs to be done to improve the quality of education in the Cayman Islands?
Well, it's beautiful. 4 years I've sat there in Parliament and fought for education. To improve education, we have to ensure that the foundation is firm. The failure of our system starts at the primary school. At the primary school level, most classrooms are overcrowded. The classrooms have 24, 26 children. If you know anything about teaching, if you talk to teachers, it should be around 15 or 16. So if you're not going to make the classrooms smaller, it is high time that we invest in support staff. And not the support staff the way they get it now, where they get support staff once or twice a week. If you're going to give a teacher 24 children to work with, please give them a support staff all the time. This is the only how we're going to succeed. And in those classrooms, what we're having, we have 3 sets of children at different learning levels. That's not easy for one teacher to do. And on top of that, you have a child with behavior problems, disrupting the class, messing up the other children from not doing their work. So this is all with one teacher with 24 children. And if we're going to invest, we have to start to invest in our own. Over the last 10, 12 years, we've had over 20 Caymanian teachers leave, and they were good teachers. Have they been asked why they've left? One of the reasons they've left, when I talk to quite a few of them, is that they sit there and see people getting contracts renewed and not doing their work. So it is time, and I asked that question in Parliament, how do we get rid of bad teachers, because they're giving the good, hard-working teachers a bad name. Early detection and intervention is also very important. It has to start in primary school. And 2 minutes is not enough for education. I'm sorry, you need about 10, 15 just on this topic. But we have to sit down and make sure we start to put, when we detect the problem, we have to put intervention there, and serious intervention. I need to go on to secondary and vocational programs, but we don't have the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sarah, what do you think needs to be done to improve the quality of education in the Cayman Islands?
Well, one of the things that we need to start looking into is what support networks do we have around in our islands that will be able to improve the educational system. We have Kodak, we have a lot of sporting clubs, and those places are where we need to start looking into to support the schools. We have the primary school that right now we're short of teachers that are local. We have a ratio right now that is more female than male. We're finding out that there are more males that are getting in problems in the primary school level, And I think that the ratio should be 50-50. However, going forward and looking at when those kids graduate from West Bay Primary or the primary level, I think we should be investing, especially in West Bay, in our middle and high schools down here. Our children are getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go to school, and they're leaving on their buses at 7. Getting to school, not having enough breakfast. These are things that right now have to be implemented in our district. In the high school level, I've always advocated that right now we are letting our kids out too early. When you don't have job experience and you don't have the education background, most places are not going to hire you. Furthermore, you're not hireable or pensionable until you're 18 years old. Therefore, I've advocated and I've stressed it all along that we need to have job experience for these kids, a half day up from 14 to 18. We give them half day academics and studying what career choice they've chosen, and then they have a job experience on the other half of the day. We have to start letting our kids know that right now jobs are valuable and every job counts, not just the ones of bankers, lawyers, and doctors.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Mr. Mervyn, what do you think needs to be done to improve the quality of education in the Cayman Islands?
First off, what we really need to do is take education out of the electoral cycle. In the last 4 administrations, 4 different education ministers. One was actually an educator, and that was Mr. Roy Borden. The problem that we have here is that we, the people of these islands, expect an education minister to improve the results of the students. And that's foolhardy. Actually, when it really comes down to it, we expect the education minister to take care of every issue there is. We have now a locally developed educational program, internationally accredited. My solution for education is to take this particular program and institute it in the next 2 years and put a policy in place and have it administered by the education department, overseen by the education minister, with the understanding that we will evaluate, we will set goals as to what we're looking to achieve, but we will not have direct political influence. If we do it in the next 2 years, it will span the next 2 administrations. And that way, no one minister in particular will be held to account for what is the shortcomings and many times of the family unit and the crises that are brought to school in the learning environment that is actually disrupting more people, more teachers, and causing more teachers to leave the system. This is the one area where we all know we need to talk about, but politically it is not popular. Let's strengthen the family unit. Let's ensure that our people have an opportunity at a middle-class life, that they can properly and adequately support themselves and their families and be able to spend more time with their children, so that the children that are going to our schools are well taken care of, well behaved, and are in an environment in which they can achieve their full potential.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after these short messages.
Some side effects of radiation can affect a patient's appetite. Here are some tips for maintaining good nutrition while undergoing treatment. Eat frequently. Eat small portions of calorie-dense foods. The goal is to maintain your weight while going through therapy. Concentrate on liquids and soft foods. These will be easier to swallow. Although it may become difficult to eat, try as best as you can to maintain good nutrition.
Visit the local Cayman Islands office at Governor Square or call 749-3304.
Make the most of your morning at Burger King with Burger King's unbeatable breakfast special. 2 croissant sandwiches for just $4. Take 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissant sandwiches, 2 sausage, egg, and cheese, or mix and match. Add a refreshing OJ or delicious hash browns, plus tea or coffee for a true breakfast of champions. 2 croissant sandwiches for just $4, available until 10:30 weekdays and 11 a.m. on weekends. Only at Burger King, 7 Mile Beach, Waterfront, Walkers Road, Town Center Plaza, and now Red Bay.
Looking for quality products with the best prices? Then come to Uncle Bill's. We carry the best bicycle brands on island. You can also make a custom order and pick up items from our great line of accessories. We have a fantastic range of stainless steel, gas, and charcoal grills. And make sure to check out our great line of DeWalt power tools. Plus our newest product, the FlexVolt. Have the freedom of cordless. Come and visit us today, Uncle Bill's Home Improvement Center.
Welcome back to the West Bay Assembly of God, where we have 3 candidates for West Bay North with us this evening. We've gone through the first round of questions. I'll turn it back over to Paul for the second round.
Okay. I'm going to skip straight to crime. We have a number of questions from the audience already, which we can circle back to. And this question starts with Ms. Sarah. What are your plans to help the police with crime and safety in the district?
First and foremost, we need to implement more community officers. The West Bay area at this time, we're suffering with the lack thereof police officers who are not in the community interacting with the people down there in West Bay. Recently, we've had a wave of crime, especially in this part of our district, West Bay North. And we have had no real leadership per se to come out and attack these type of problems that we're having. A lot of the problems that we're seeing is recently we've seen in the newspaper coming from the younger children. These are unsupervised children, which they are right now being incorporated into the gangs. And the crimes are stemming from that. We also need to increase our borders in regards to the fact that right now we have a lot of the guns that are on our streets coming from the drug runs that are coming from other places. And right now I've been in my district for the last 18 years. The last 12 have been a tremendous amount of crime that has been going on. And we have to look into getting more recreation centers and community development centers where our young people will not be on the streets being recruited by gangs. And furthermore, we have to have more parental interaction in terms of family units where parents can be told what to expect from these gangs and street violence and whatnot.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. So, Mr. Mervyn, what are your plans to help the police with crime and safety in the district?
Thank you. My immediate plan is to get everyone back to work who's not working, so that we can lessen the load on the police force, on the prison service, and on our judicial system. The issue that we're having with crime, in my opinion, is that we have too many people who are not working or who are not gainfully employed. And as a result, this is what's creating all of the crime that we're seeing in this district, and in particular. You know, having walked through the district during this time, you know, there's so many people who are at home and who don't have a job, and as a result, you know, they're a little bit disillusioned. And you know, when you speak about the gangs and all the other things that go along, and what's creating this atmosphere that's conducive to more and more people turning to crime, it's as a result of people not feeling like they're valued and that they have a part to play in society. That, you know, in industries like tourism, industries like construction, salaries have streamlined, and they've done so for the last 25 years. People are no longer motivated to work for what their parents were working for 25 years ago, and it's creating a serious problem. You know, the whole reason I'm running this election is to provide employment opportunities for all of our citizens, irrespective of their educational level, whether or not they're semi-skilled, skilled, blue collar, white collar. There is solutions. It is simply based on that. I believe that if we address this issue, many of our problems are going to go away. So my immediate plan, if I'm successful on May the 24th, is to institute a work program that, irrespective of the individual and their skill level, they have every opportunity at getting jobs and ensuring where enforcement is necessary, it is applied. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bush, What are your plans to help the police with crime and safety in the district?
Crime is not something by itself. What has caused all this crime? My colleagues here have said some of the points. And we know that when you look at the unemployment, and you say you want to get people jobs, but then when you carry people to get jobs for them, they don't want to work for that. They don't qualify. Everything is put in place to hold us up. But then you look at what causes crime as well. Some people are hungry. They lose their homes. They have no jobs. They have no parents. All these things are things that contribute to crime. So you have to address three things: education of our young people, support of our police, and address repeat offenders. And when I say educate of our young people, it has to start in primary school, through high school, through college. We have to let them know the value, and we have to make them that they are qualified for something. Everybody has a place to play. Support of our police, we have done that in Parliament. Everything that they have asked for, we've given to them. But they have not been held accountable. That's why I fought so hard with the former police commissioner. He was getting more money, and the crime just kept escalating. No matter how much we would ask them, can you put more foot patrols? Can you put more people? Stop making the police be adversarial to the community. Let them be friends with the people. You'll get more. And then we also, the whole community in a whole, the teachers have to do their part. Then you need the social workers to identify at-risk young people very early, that we can check them. And then we also need a community to love, nurture, and to look out for each other and help each other. And the last one, repeat offenders. Check the crime list. Most of the crime is by repeat offenders. It means that we are not doing a good job of getting them ready to come back into society. We're not looking at who they're coming out to. If they're coming out to a good job, are they going back into the same environment they were in before? All these things have to be addressed. You address these quickly, and you cut crime down rapidly.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. So, Mr. Mervyn, this question starts with you. We're still on the subject of crime. What new policies and actions would you recommend to reduce violent crime involving illegal guns and drugs?
Well, I think, having seen the amount of murders that we've seen, and particularly in the district, it comes to mind that maybe the sentencing isn't firm enough. Prosecution is one thing. Apprehension of these individuals has proven difficult in many instances. But I go back to it again. I don't think there's any individual, or certainly I haven't met any, that gets up one morning and decides that they're going to commit a violent crime or they're going to murder someone. We have a lot of disillusion in this district. I will probably repeat this before the night's out again, but our main problem that we have here is we have too many people who are not gainfully employed. And it's one of those things that's absolutely driving our crime statistics through the roof. We need to get our people involved in activities and gainfully employed, that they feel like they got a vested interest in what's going on. Here tonight, lights, camera, action. Society places pressures on all of us. It is no different in the real world. Whether you're 5 years old or you're 45 years old, you're subject to pressure from your peers. And we find, and what I'm seeing, and with the individuals who commit these crimes, one thing is obvious, and one thing is that we cannot ignore. Most of these individuals weren't working. Most of the people who have been gunned down in our streets weren't working. Therein lies the problem. Getting back to what I was saying, let's get our people gainfully employed, so that we don't have to talk about what sentences we will have to administer in order to deter them. Because quite frankly, seeing what's happened, seeing the murders, seeing people get life in prison, seeing people actually leave the island after committing some of these crimes, I don't think the sentencing is a deterrent.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn. Mr. Burney, what new policies or actions would you recommend to reduce violent crime involving illegal guns and drugs?
I think definitely we have to look at what sentencing we have in place now. We have to look to see if we put longer terms or one strike and you're out, but we cannot at no time tolerate the gun. The gun life must be fought at all costs, and whatever means necessary, we have to get it out of our country. Our country is too small. There are too many families hurting each other, and it's all over stupidness. So I think we also have to get back to strengthening the family unit. When we started that family unit, and then we also once again get back to education, and we come back to what Mr. Smith just said, employment. And as you all know, the employment has not moved hardly anywhere under this present government. They're saying all kind of figures that no one can prove, but I know, me personally, I drive people to job interviews, sit there and wait on them, write references, help them with their resumes, and I say over the last 4 years, I figure I've probably gotten over 100 people jobs. When I listen to what this so-called NWDA has done, and I know what it has done to some people with a master's degree. So it comes back to a bunch of different things. What's causing it? We're not getting the chances that we deserve. We're not making an effort. Some of us are not making the effort. And then when you go away and you get qualified and you come back, they're telling you, you're putting excuses in your way, you're overqualified. And this is something that's plaguing us. And I've heard young qualified people tell me, look, if I don't get a job soon, something bad is going to happen. So it goes back to we have to put things in place, or no, we have to enforce what is there now. Because we have all kind of good laws in place, but we do not have the testicular fortitude to enforce the laws. We have to stop being afraid of everyone and do what we have to do. Plain and simple.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. Ms. Sarah, what new policies or actions would you recommend to reduce violent crime involving illegal guns and drugs?
First and foremost, we have to realize that we've had some answers given up here in regards to who's committing the crime and education and all this. Several of the people that have been involved in crime in West Bay especially that I know of are well educated. A lot of them come from backgrounds that they have some of the best education. Some of them are the most talented. However, we do not have anything in place that is going to rehabilitate students or children and young people and adults. We leave them to the peril of the life on the street. There's no employment, and without employment, a lot of people, a hungry man is an angry man. And I've stated it every time, trade schools. If we don't give a man something to do, we're going to find that idle hands will find something else to do. And it's usually bad work. So as for the guns, we need to put out something that says that we're going to have an amnesty. Everyone that has a gun, you have the opportunity to turn them in. If you're found with the gun, there's a 10 years, as they already have in place. And these are things that right now that we need to realize that you can't compromise on the guns. These are what are killing our young people within the district. In the last 10 years, we've had 20 of our young people killed by guns. A baby was killed by a gun. So there's no tolerance about gun crimes. I think that right now, if the laws should be stiffer. In fact, right now, there should be life for when these guns are used in any crime. And as far as the trade schools is concerned, once you have given a man a trade and a job, his dignity is restored. And I think that right now we have to focus more on giving these people something to do.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. So we're going to kind of circle back around now to West Bay North. And this question will start with Mr. Burney. What do you consider to be the top issue facing residences in West Bay North, and what would you do to address it if elected?
And going through my district, it's the same throughout the whole district. West Bay North, West Bay Central. But in West Bay North, what I've found is unemployment, lack of real assistance for people with mental problems, and also, once again, children failing in school. Gets back to that every time. And we have looked at these things and we have put motions forward, nothing has happened. As you learn when you're in opposition, those that on the next side have the majority, so what they say goes. But God's willing, May the 24th, when we're elected, we're going to immediately, on the mental side, we have to look at a mental facility to fit. Not some place where we just throw people in who are having mental problems, because some people who are having mental problems, most of them, they're not bad people. They just need some simple time, simple things to get them that they can not be a menace to society. On the job issue, we're going to have to start to enforce the laws that are in place. This is the only country that I've found that you have a work permit for a certain amount of time. And at the end of that, you can still appeal and still stay. And you've got Caymanians that are training people who come here to do jobs. And I'm not talking any fancy jobs like being a lawyer or a CPA or those type of things. I'm talking about jobs in the hotels, jobs in the construction industry. We just have to give our own a chance, and we're going to have to enforce the laws immediately. We're going to have to stop coddling up to some of these companies that want their way. But our people have to also take and grab when you get a chance and run with it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. Ms. Sarah, what do you consider to be the top issue facing residents in the West Bay North District, and what would you do to address it if elected?
I think that we're lacking the community center. We're lacking a senior citizens recreation center. When you look at the fact that right now we have several of our senior citizens that are locked into their homes. A lot of them don't have company of people their same age. I think right now the Senior Citizen Recreation Center, once a very special person to me said, when one of these people die, it's like burning a library. So I think the interaction between our senior citizens and our young people should be a part of our curriculum in terms of education. The young people can learn from these elders about the respect, responsibility, and how to be kind to your fellow man. And as far as the issues concerning our district at this present time, the most talked about, and once I went around and spoke to most of the people, they've all stated unemployment. However, a lot of these people right now don't have skills. I mean, they can't fill out a resume. Some of them don't have computer skills. My idea would be that we open up the schools for adult training centers where people can come in the evening times after work and upgrade their skills and probably be able to get a higher paying job. I also feel at this time that right now that we need after school programs, that we liaise with the clubs that are already in place, Future, Scholars, Elite, Alliance. And these sporting entities can also assist with this, with giving these young people, keeping them occupied during these times.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Mr. Mervyn, the same question to you. What do you consider to be the top issue facing residents in the West Bay North District, and what would you do to address it if elected?
The top issue is gainful employment. Industries like tourism, construction, where our people have made a living, where our people have been able to live a middle-class life, feed their families, build homes. In many of these occupations now, that's no longer the case. From 1990 to 2015, the hourly annual salary in tourism rose by less than 2 cents an hour. Factory workers in China saw greater increases. In the construction industry, the salaries actually declined. We have a situation here. We have allowed businesses through the immigration department primarily to seek their employment needs from countries that do not have established economies. And as a result, they're continually driving down wages. When they drive down the wage, then it's no longer attractive to the Caymanian citizen because they have to live here, feed their families, have the ideas of wanting to buy property, build a house. Some of these salaries are not conducive to those type of things. And as a result, we find ourselves now scrambling. You know, our industries are saturated. Small business owners, We have more small business owners in this country per capita than anywhere else in the world. It's a result of people trying to find an avenue where they can make some semblance of a livable wage. And it's simply not happening. So unless we're going to enforce our immigration laws like Regulation 6, to ensure that Caymanians get job opportunities that are available and they are no longer turned away, what we're seeing here in this district is going to continue. We need to get to the point where there's more action and less talk. We have plans to put in place in tourism, in construction, and for our educated class to ensure that all Caymanians, irrespective again of their educational background, have an opportunity to advance in these islands and live a middle-class life, which should be their God-given right.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after these short messages.
Most people want the same basic things in life. They want to be safe, healthy, happy. They want a good job. In a word, people want prosperity. So how can we create more prosperity for Caymanians? Another way to say prosperity is standard of living. There are 3 basic ways to improve the standard of living. First, the government can spend more money on services like healthcare, education, or infrastructure. That would make life better for Caymanians. But it would also cost more money, which means more government fees. So it might bring a better standard of living, but it would also increase the cost of living. The second way to improve living standards would be to reduce the cost of living. A lower cost of living means people have more money to spend on other things. But in a modern economy, for the most part, the cost of living isn't something that the government can directly control. The third way to improve living standards would be to increase salaries. Raising salaries has the same effect as reducing the cost of living, because it gives people more money to spend. If only there was some way we could increase salaries, increase government revenue, and decrease the cost of living all at the same time. There is. It's called economic growth. In the last video, we saw how companies turn revenue into 4 economic outputs, including duties and fees and salaries. So in order to improve government services without increasing anyone's government fees, and at the same time increasing salaries, companies need to make more revenue so they can afford to pay more money in salaries and duties and fees. And that's what economic growth is. Companies making more revenue and turning it into more money in salaries, overheads, government fees, and profits. But wait, what about the cost of living? Is there a way economic growth can reduce the cost of living? Yes. Have you ever wondered why most things cost so much less in the United States? That's because companies there sell a much greater quantity and can therefore afford to make less on each individual sale. Economists call this economies of scale. The fact that a growing economy raises living standards and creates prosperity is one of the few things that all economists agree on. It's what people mean when they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. In the next episode, we'll start looking at how we could help the economy grow. For now, thanks for watching. And remember to share this video with your family and friends so that they can learn more about our economic prosperity engine.
It's fresh, fresh from the garden, it's fresh. Fresh from the baker, it's fresh. Fresh from the fisherman, always have Hurley. It's fresh, fresh from the butcher, it's fresh. Fresh from the deli, it's fresh. Fresh from the summer rain, always have Hurley.
At Hurley's, everything is fresh, and we mean everything.
C3 Pure Fiber broke the Caymanian record of the first 100% fiber optic network. Do you know what it feels like to be fiber fast? It feels like this, like your whole life passing beneath your fingertips, like your world is living with you, like everything in your whole life is always connected. We are a new breed of connectivity, and we are ready for you. TV from $59, internet from $69, bundles from $89, and home phone from $9. Join us today, 333-3333 or c3.ky.
Have you had your Tortuga moment today? Come by Tortuga Fine Wine and Spirits for all your liquor needs and taste the world-famous Tortuga rum and rum cake. Baked fresh daily in the Cayman Islands. Enchanting, exotic, and always delicious. Like the moments you share and will savor forever. The taste of the Cayman Islands, remembering the time of your life over and over again. Such sweet surrender.
You might not often see us, yet we're always passing through, hidden in the background of everything you do. Who are we? We're Home Gas, the clear choice.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. We're Cayman 27, Cayman Informed.
Welcome back to the West Bay Assembly of God, where we have the three candidates for West Bay North with us this evening, Ms. Sarah Orette Ebanks, Mervyn Smith, and Bernie Bush. We'll now move on to some further questions from the Chamber and general membership, as well as we have many questions from the audience. So I'll turn it back over to Paul.
Good evening, everybody. I think because we have such a great number of questions from the audience, we'll just ask one more question, prepared question, and then we'll go straight to the audience. And this is actually on population growth. Some Ms. Sarah, this is your question. Some candidates during this election are recommending that there should be an annual quota established for the granting of permanent residency and Caymanian status for persons who do not have generational ties. Do you support this recommendation?
That so happens to be one of the subjects that I covered last night in my political meeting. Right now we have several people that are applying for permanent residency in our country, and a lot of them are not paying up their dues. And this must stop because it's part of our revenue and it helps for our country. Secondly, what we are looking at is that people are coming here and getting permanent residency in our country. And the only thing that they have to do in regards to community service is walk a dog. I think that's an insult to my people, and it's an insult to this country. I think that right now what we need to start establishing is when we're dealing with the permanent residency, we need to have these people give 3 years free service of their trade to train our Caymanians that have no trade and no skill. And once these people have been trained, then they will now take over those jobs. Thirdly, after they have received, if they've been approved for permanent residence, I would feel that right now it is in our best interest that these people not only volunteer in our trade schools, but they find their way to the schools themselves in order to volunteer their time in whatever subject or trade that they have. I am for the permanent residence in regards to our teachers, in regards to our health services, and to our helpers. Thank you.
Mr. Mervyn, same question to you. Some candidates during this election are recommending that there should be an annual quotas established for the granting of permanent residency and Caymanian status for persons who do not have a generational tie. Do you support this recommendation?
Absolutely. In 2013, right after the general election, myself and Paul Rivers started a petition to get the government to come to the table in relation to the teleps, which were coming due. The previous government had pushed the issue just past the election, and it became the issue that had to be dealt with. And in doing so, we were called to the cabinet to have a meeting with the government. And one of the things that we asked for in relation to pulling back from that demonstration was that criteria be established that made it very difficult for an individual to attain Caymanian status. We recognize that over the years, and in many instances, being done ad hocly and without consideration for the citizens already in the country, that we were issuing too many Caymanian statuses. And as a result, the competition was one of those things that was driving many of our people at the time out of the workplace, not giving them opportunities that they deserved. And we thought that it was critical that we limit the amount of persons who were able to get permanent residence and then Caymanian status. And we were so successful that to date, from 2013 to 2017, you all know none was issued. Now, we didn't ask for criteria that didn't give anybody a chance. We only asked for criteria that made it difficult for a majority of people to get Caymanian status. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn. Mr. Burney.
Thank you. Those TILEPs, I voted against them. We all know of the Rich report. Why does the governor, why does the PPM why don't they want to release it to the public? Because those same TILEPs are now about to sue us, or they're going to get their papers, all 1,500 of them. So when I sat there and I joined the march, got signatures as well, and I was shocked when I heard that, they were putting things in place that it wouldn't be as easy. Having sat on the immigration board for 5 years, the permanent residence and status board, knowing the fights that I had there, and Ms. Orrit was 100% right. You see people putting about they walk dogs. It's the truth. That's not a joke. And when you have people sitting on these boards that the problem we in Cayman have, oh yes, foreigners must go, but not my foreigner. If I'm friends with someone, we must give them their papers. But other people's foreigners can go. It has to be enforced. Those TILEPs was just another major mistake. And I do feel if all the signatures had been handed in, just like the legal practitioner bill, if we had fought that, we would not be in the position we're in now, where we're going to have another 1,500 people who are going to mess up our middle order young people who are coming back from college with a little bit of experience. They will not get a chance to move up because of those TILEPs. And history will show and prove that I was right for not agreeing on it and voting against it. It will be shown.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. We're actually going to go now, again, as I say, because we have loads of questions from the audience. This is the very first one that came up today. And this is going to Mr. Mervyn. This is you first. Who are your major sponsors, and will you answer to them on legislative changes?
My major sponsors are ordinary people. To date, I can honestly say I have collected in total $3,700 from various people, starting from $200 donations to the maximum of $1,000 donation. I answer to the Caymanian people. I answer only to my people. Many people have approached me, having run the last election. As you all know, the numbers are pretty good. Both parties, I guess some won't admit that now, made reference to me running with them. Okay, as well as the independent group that has surfaced and as well as the other group that is looking to win enough seats to take the government. But I decided to take this step to stand on my own, because I wanted the country and the district of West Bay, and in particular West Bay North, to know they had a representative who didn't need big financial backers and who was not looking for the support from those individuals who would use that in the end, as we all know, to manipulate. As the old saying goes, during elections, when people give you money, they're not giving you a donation, they're making an investment. Well, I'm making an investment too, but my investments with the people of these islands, that's all the people. Not some individual who has some grandeur idea that if I'm elected, I'll be one of those that'll be supporting what they say just because they helped me get there.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn. Mr. Burney, same question. Who are your major sponsors, and will you answer to them on legislative changes?
My track record in the last 4 years has shown, even though I'm part of the Cayman Democratic Party, I have voted on 5 occasions differently from my associates. I have had no problem standing alone and standing for what I believed in. And there was no argument or nothing from my comrades. They understood that I could not vote for something. I gave them my reasons why, asked them to change my mind so I could vote with the party, and they could not. I voted alone. Bernie has proven it over the years. Anyone who knows Bernie Bush knows I have had no problem standing alone. Even in the sporting world, I've gone and taken on associations when it has been unpopular, but in the end I've been proven to have done the right thing by turning the associations around, and here in government I've done the same thing. I've stood alone. I have no problem not agreeing with my teammates. We discuss it, we agree to disagree, and we move on. As for sponsorship, I have gotten money from my family and have gotten money from friends. Now, what other people in my group may have done, I have no idea. But I know I answer to God, my conscience, the people of West Bay, and the people of Cayman. That's who I answer to.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. Ms. Sarah, who are your major sponsors, and will you answer to them on legislative changes?
First and foremost, I answer to Sarah or E-Banks and to God Almighty, and you get that from now. Secondly, my major sponsor would be Dr. Steve Tomlinson, whom I put a lot of respect towards the man. However, he and I have spoken on several occasions, and there was a minor investment that he made in terms of my political campaign. However, nobody controls Sarah or not even my husband. So let's get that straight. I answer to only myself, and my conscience is my guide. My people are my guide and my refuge. Anytime that I needed any help, I always went to my elders of my church. And I respect that because of the fact that right now these people are pillars of our community. So therefore, I do not have any obligation to this gentleman. I thank him very much for what he's done in regards to buying my signs. Everything else has come out of Sarah Already Bank's pocket. All the effort, all the hard work, I did it myself. The signs are paid for by the gentleman. Any other questions in regards to that, I would suggest you take it up with somewhere else.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. That was quite the spirited question, but that was our first one this evening. This one came up actually last night too, and we never got to answer it. And this is going to Mr. Burney first, Ms. Sarah, and then Mr. Mervyn. Mr. Burney, how would you work on ending political manipulation and work across the LA with everybody?
Beautiful question. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. It's very simple. Once again, my track record proves what Bernie Bush stands for. The whistleblowing legislation, I took it across the floor to Roy McTaggart. We decided we were going to show as young, new politicians that we were going to work together. It was the session that sat in the back. I'm feeling good because here I am proving that we can work together. It's for the betterment of our people. It comes before the floor. The Premier and the top civil servant runs down to Mr. Mike Taggart, whispers in his ear, and he voted against his own motion. Now, you'll have to ask him why. But that was the first time that I tried to show that working across the floor, Bernie Bush was capable and wanted to do it. Then I turned around and I did it with Winston Connolly. Winston Connolly and myself worked on the alternative energy thing together before he came over and when he came over to the opposition side. So working across the floor, Bernie Bush has shown it that he is willing and able to do it. It's because it's not about Bernie Bush. It's not about the CDP. It is about the Cayman Islands. It's about the people. And very simple, you do what is right. At all times you ask yourself, is this the right thing for the people? Is this the right thing for the country? And the answer is yes, you do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bernie. Miss Sarah, how would you work on ending political manipulation and work across the LA with everybody?
First and foremost, everybody, every pant, what we call the tub got standard in one bottom. And if a person is independently thinking, then they certainly shouldn't need any party in manipulation or influence in what they do. As far as party manipulation is concerned, that is a weak-minded person that would allow anybody else to tell them what to do. And I am not one of those people. I am an independently thinking woman. I always make sure that I'm getting the answers and the suggestion and advice from the people of West Bay mostly. But I have been called from people from Little Cayman, Cayman Brac, and straight from East End. Right now, one of the things that we have to realize that when we start to put these big major investors into political parties, those political parties themselves do not have any control over the manipulation that takes place from those major sponsors that they have. So when it comes to political manipulation, those are the people that have to be mindful. Those parties that have those people big money back in them. I've only got $2,700.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Mr. Mervyn, how would you work on ending political manipulation and work across the LA with everyone?
Well, for me personally, it comes down to this, It's going to come down to the proposal. If it's good for the country, then it's good with me. If it's not, then it doesn't have my support. In relation to the political manipulation, the unfortunate thing is it comes down to leadership. It comes down to whether or not those who you elect, all 19 members, are working for the betterment of the people of these islands, or, as has been said earlier, or if they have some ulterior motive, and if they're bringing stuff to the LA 2 weeks prior to, not even informing their party, and then as a result of it, expecting everyone to go ahead and vote on it. That's the type of political manipulation that's led us now in this decline. And what we're seeing in our community is as a result of some of the leadership. So for me, it's very simple. I'm going there to work for the people. I'm not going there to get a job. I'm going there to do a job. All of the side stuff and the distractions, I'll be no part of.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn.
You know the PPM good?
So we go now, and this question is to Ms. Sarah. It's a bit of a long question. Do you believe that politicians in Cayman Islands are actively supporting able-bodied persons into a life of welfare for voting purposes, many of whom do not work or wish to seek work, but are happy to be maintained by the taxpayers for the rest of their lives?
Well, at a recent meeting that we had with the Kodak, I was informed that the West Bay population is the largest recipient of the NAU. So that should tell you enough of that question. Right now, we are having able bodies, people that come there, they can afford a pack of cigarettes and a 3, 4, 5, but they cannot give their children breakfast, or they cannot find lunch money for their children. I have personally taken money out of my pocket while a parent shoves the child out of the door, telling them, I don't have nothing for you. But while they're sitting there packing a pack of cigarettes that cost $10. So when we talk about NAU, I'm an unemployed mother of 2. And I have not had an ATM card, must be in the last 8 years. And we at the NAU are issuing ATM cards to these people that are running up and down all day finding 3, 4, 5 or drinking and drugging. So I think that right now when it comes to those things, government needs to clap down. If you can get up in the morning and go to the bar room, or you can get up and find yourself running up and down, driving up and down motorbikes or whatever, you can work. If there is enough work in West Bay right now, I can tell you 3 different places I can carry you right now that we find work of picking up garbage. So I don't think that right now people that are sitting there constantly having child after child and not giving themselves an opportunity to go out there and find a job, I think that that's coming directly out of my pocket, and it makes me very upset.
Mr. Mervyn, same question. Do you believe that politicians in the Cayman Islands are actively supporting able-bodied persons into a life of welfare for voting purposes, many of whom do not work or wish to seek work, but are quite happy to be maintained by the taxpayers for the rest of their lives?
Absolutely. It's the single biggest problem we have in this country, and 60% of the needs assessment budget comes to the District of West Bay. And we have one party in particular that's now promoting additional benefits, and they're starting off by talking these additional benefits are going to be primarily for the elderly and the seamen. I've made a statement on this, and I'll make it again. If that transfers down to the working able-bodied person, we're going to continue to see an increase in crime in this district, the West Bay district. Since 2009, there's been 29 murders in the Cayman Islands. 20 of them have happened in the District of West Bay. Ladies and gentlemen, do the math. 20 of 29, 60-something%. 60% needs assessment budget comes to West Bay. When it comes to development, in the last 20 years, most people work in Georgetown. When you drive into West Bay and West Bay Road is the district that's had the most development of any place in these islands. We've had the leadership in place. But what happened about the opportunities? Who was ensuring that we got those jobs? Who was ensuring that salaries kept pace with inflation? Who was watching out for us? I leave it there.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn. Mr. Burney.
Thank God I was only elected in 2013. But no, I do not support helping lazy people or able-bodied people in no way or form. And but I do know we have to look out for our elderly who need help. And under the present regime, they are claiming they have a surplus, but there's no doubt it has been built on the backs of our people who are suffering. You have young children going to the hospital and need help. You have elderly people that need help. You go to NAU and they tell you we have no funds. And I am not going to tell, I've been doing it since I figured I started in 1979, but I figured since I started to work 1981, I take pocket, people like myself and Floyd Bush have taken money out of our pocket every day to help people. And under my PTA, when I was the PTA president for West Bay Primary, the breakfast program started under us. So from then, that's 1990s, we've had people coming to school hungry. So the thing is, we have to help those who need help. Whether it's the children and the elderly, we cannot turn them away, because if we don't help them, no one will. And we cannot sit by and watch the elderly need something or suffer, or the younger children need something and suffer, because it's affecting the children in their classroom big time. They're coming to school, no parent at home at night, some of them. They're coming to school hungry. They're coming to school with their uniforms in a mess, not smelling good. And it affects their what they feel about themselves. So we have to put things in place to help these type of people. But as for able-bodied people, I wholeheartedly agree, we do not help them.
Thank you, sir.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after these short messages.
C3 Pure Fiber broke the Cayman record of the first 100% fiber optic network. Do you know what it feels like to be fiber fast? It feels like this, like your whole life passing beneath your fingertips, like your world is living with you, like everything in your whole life is always connected. We are a new breed of connectivity, and we are ready for you. TV from $59, internet from $69, bundles from $89, and home phone from $9. Join us today, 333-3333 or c3.ky.
Australia's best anglers go head-to-head in this premier tournament, the Australia Fishing Championships. This popular fishing show sees the country's best casting their lines across the outback. From the freshwater lakes and rivers to the spectacular tropical waters of the coast, these fishermen try to reel in the biggest fish out there. Watch on Cayman 27 Sundays at 7:30 p.m. and Thursdays at 1 p.m. to see who lands the biggest catch.
You can find everything to adapt, decorate, or furnish your home at Kirk Home Center. Discover every tool for any task in our hardware department. Fuel your imagination with our extensive range of housewares and linens. Create a home outside your house.
Welcome back. We're in the West Bay Assembly of God and West Bay North with the three candidates for this constituency. We've gone through some very interesting questions so far from the audience. Now we're going to the second round of questions, and I'll turn it back over to Paul.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I think we're going to stay along the same lines here because it really is very interesting. So I'm going to read the first two paragraphs of this long question, and then the question is at the end. So I'll just read the first two paragraphs first. Up until the mid-90s, most Caymanian families could raise their family with just the father working while the mother stayed at home to care for the children at home. Now both parents working the family can barely meet their financial obligations. So the question is, what are the reasons, in your opinion, for the decline in wages and the deterioration in the family structure? And how would you go about securing better wages and family values? Mr. Mervyn.
Thank you. As I was saying all night, decline in salaries or stagnation in salaries is the single biggest problem that we have in this district. And then second is political manipulation. What we need to ensure going forward, again, is that everybody, irrespective of the educational level, their skill level, that they have an opportunity at a job that pays some semblance of a livable wage that allows them to get and attain the standard of living that is available here. You know, I'll go into initiatives now. We are promoting a hotel tourism initiative where every Caymanian who's in the hotel tourism industry, restaurants included, not in a managerial or supervisor position, receives $500 from the government. And the reason being is, again, from 1990 to 2015, the salaries in the industry rose less than 2 cents an hour. So if we want our people to go back into all of those jobs that we're talking about, the 800, 1,000 jobs is going to be created now and over the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to have to find some way to make those salaries attractive to some degree. In construction, an industry where there's actually been a decline in salaries, we're promoting the implementation of a $10 an hour minimum wage to stop the slide. When it comes to our professional categories and all those people and the $15 million we spend a year to ensure that we educate our people, we're looking, if necessary, to enforce Regulation 6 of the immigration law. Regulation 6 of the immigration law allows the immigration department to enforce stipulations on any work permit granted with any company in any category in these islands for a period of time to ensure that a qualified Caymanian is not only identified, but is given an opportunity at that job within the specified period of when that work permit is going to run out. If necessary, I'll be promoting the enforcement of this law.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burney.
Thank you very much. It is so, in doing research for this thing, for this, I'm going to get chewed up for using that word thing, for this forum. In 1994, Dale Banks, chairman, Charlie Watler, member, Athens Borden, member, Raymond Kennett, Holiday Inn manager, Doug Sayers, Hyatt manager, Denny Ebanks, board member. These people sat and went at a minimum wage. They were only doing it in the tourism industry. At that time, food and beverage server or waitress or waiter, whatever you want to call them, was $7 an hour. This was 1994, not including tips. I left here to go to university in 1988. I was a general manager for Kentucky Fried Chicken. My lowest paid employee at that time was $4.25 an hour. Inflation has gone up so much since then. No one ever wants to say it. The merchant class kept bringing in cheap labor and driving the salaries down. But then we have this government we have in place now that puts in a great $6 an hour. So you have someone working, let's say for example Foster's, making $6 an hour, but I got 2 children. So I got to hire someone to take care of my child. Now at my job, I get pension and health taken out, so I'm not carrying home $6. But the person working for me, I don't have to worry about a pension because it's a helper or a babysitter. They're making more money than me now. The great $6 an hour that was supposed to save the country. And actually when you talk to every employee, it's done nothing but make things difficult. So we have to directly make legislation to make these people pay our people what they're worth. And we have to stop driving down the wages by importing certain cheap labor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sarah, what are the reasons, in your opinion, for the decline in wages and the deterioration in the family structure? And how would you go about securing better wages and family values?
Again, we have to figure out, I mean, we talk about minimum wage, but what skills do people have? I mean, we're talking about bartending and we're talking about waitressing and all these things. However, in this modern era, like I said earlier, this phone and everything that we use in this country today is computerized. And yet we do not have a computer studies or anything like that that would engage our people to become able to secure higher salaries. Now, as far as the $6 an hour is concerned, it's a joke and it's a slap in the face to the people of the Cayman Islands. I think personally, if you look at the cost of living in these islands, every single month we look at our light bill. For example, they say, okay, man, don't have no taxes, but everything on your light bill is at least 60% of it is fuel duty tax. There's always a duty for something that is on that bill. And if you have a bill that's $250, normally you've only used about 90% or $90 out of that in electricity. We cannot expect for these companies, these private companies and these businesses to go up on their prices. And then all of a sudden we want to look at people and say that right now $6 an hour is good enough. It's absolute a slap in the face. We need a minimum wage. We have to remember that right now the minimum wage for the people that are here in the Cayman Islands should be no less than $12 an hour due to the fact that we live here. We do not send our money back home, Western Union. We pay our bills right here. So therefore, when it comes to mortgages, when it comes to other bills, we have to endure the house insurance, life insurance that comes along with that mortgage. So don't insult me with even $12 as far as I'm concerned. But if you're going to put it up to something that's reasonable.
Okay, thank you. We're moving on now to a subject of youth. So this one is to Mr. Burney. Do you think the present Bonaventure House program is adequate, or should we seek alternative solutions for at-risk teens?
The Bonaventure program, I've looked at it. I knew it from the very beginning. In fact, it's so funny, when I was 19, I tried to adopt a young man from down there, and they told me, you're not married, you're too young, you just started to work, so leave it alone. But the Bonaventure program is something very dear to me. Some people try to make it to be a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing. But I do feel, sorry for using thing, I do feel that we have to sit down and look at the program and work with the people who are there, and we have to put someone local in there. We have sat with Michael Miles, and we have plans on what to do with the Bonaventure. But about doing away with it, I think we have to enhance what is there, fix it up better, put more programs in place, and make sure that when those young people come out of there, that they have something to do, or something they can do, and something to go to. They're not all bad. They just need a chance. They just need someone to believe in them and make them believe in themselves.
Thank you. Ms. Sarah, do you think the present Bonaventure House program is adequate, or should we seek alternative solutions for at-risk teens?
First and foremost, what we have to realize that right now the people that you should be asking these questions to are not in this forum, and that's the people of the government. We have long kept the people of the Cayman Islands government at bay. They're the ones with the most information about these things, and yet we cannot get them to talk because government has put a gag order on these people. It's a shame, because right now, if we were going to move this country forward, how can we move it forward when we don't have all the information? You are asking me questions that right now should be personal, quite frankly, put towards the people that are in government, that have these positions, that are able to give us a better assessment of what is really going on in the Bonaventure. But unlike some people in here, I'm not one of those people. I know what's going on in Bonaventure. We're spending $150,000 a year per child. That could send 5 children to an Ivy League school. So if we're going to spend that kind of money on these children, then I would say that right now we need to have something to show for it. We have our young boys that are coming out of, that are being put in those places, not because of fault of their own, but lack of parental guidance. And it got to be addressed. People are looking at it the other way, just like they look at the mental health issue. They all turn a blind eye until someday that it hits back straight home. But I think that right now it is ridiculous that our government would even endure $150,000 per annum on one child. Why not just take 4 children, those seem 4, maybe send them to a military school if they don't want to behave. Send them away and let them do better. But $150,000 per child, not even a college graduate or a person with a master's degree is earning that kind of money.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Mr. Mervyn, do you think the present Bonaventure House program is adequate, or should we seek alternative solutions for at-risk teens?
I think to some degree, yes. I know of individuals who have gone through the program, and quite frankly, are doing quite well now. But I think what we need is more community involvement. What we need to ensure is that we got mentorship programs in place, and I know they work. It's not a second-hand story, it's my own. The first time I went away, a friend of the family took me away. The first time I got a job, a friend of the family got me a job. Throughout my life, I recognize the importance of mentors and what they actually bring to the equation, because again, society places a lot of pressure on us, and one thing we all do, we evaluate. Everyone in here is looking around at everyone else and how they're dressed and how we're behaving and so forth. That's the pressures the society brings to bear. And in many instances, when you come from broken families, you do not have an opportunity to reach your true potential because you're more concerned with how you look, and if that fails, then you're not worried about how society looks at you. So what we need to do is ensure that all of our people and especially our at-risk youth understand that this is a community, this is the village that's going to raise the child, and that therefore support is there outside of Bonaventure as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn. We'll stay on the topic of teens, I guess, and this is to Miss Sarah. When are we going to get a high school in West Bay?
When you elect Sarah R.D. Banks on May the 24th. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said earlier, right now our kids are, I've followed this for several years. Our children are right now getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning and that means that the parents are also getting up at 4 a.m. Because if you're a great parent, good parent, responsible parent, you're going to find that your child has breakfast in the morning before they go. Now, what's happening is several parents are coming back and saying that their child is falling asleep in class according to the teachers. Well, West Bay does not need to go that far. We have already, of course, by Mr. Bush, and I am not afraid to say it, Mr. McKeever Bush, he had initially started the middle school and high school out by the Scholars Park. That project was stopped. For what? I do not know. However, I feel that right now the West Bay, North and West Bay in a whole, deserves its own middle school and high school. Our children should not have to travel so far to go and get an education when we've already got the place down here to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Mr. Mervyn, when are we going to get a high school in West Bay?
When we can afford it. We need to be careful. For all that we promise, there's a cost. And right now, we're trying to reduce the cost of living. And if capital projects are not thought through and are bought on emotion, then the people are going to find themselves in even more dire straits. And certainly, the poorest amongst us are going to find it much more harder. So I say we get a high school when we can afford it.
Thank you. Mr. Burney. When are we going to get a high school in West Bay?
I will repeat what Mr. Smith just said. And the reason I would say when we can afford it, we have another priority in West Bay that should be looked at in the school. 2 years ago, I noticed my daughter, who's a teacher in West Bay Primary, having respiratory problems. I had an air impact study done in West Bay Primary. Now, I've heard people are telling people I should be ashamed myself. I didn't say anything. No, I didn't say anything to anyone, but I paid and had the people come and do the 4 or 5 classrooms on that side. Since then, we've had a classroom that they said that there was mold in. I knew the chief officer and the minister and all them visited the place late that evening. The next morning, I went and stood there from 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock that day when Public Works came to look in the classroom for myself. And what I've found has happened, where they joined the classrooms from way back, under the ground, that is where I think the problem is. So with that having been identified, and if they've capped off everything and they're hoping that I'll do the job, but I asked a question of one of the top people, would you put your child in that class? They said yes. I said, all right. But what we need to build first is a new set of classrooms for the upper end of West Bay Primary, because that old set, they have become hazardous, and we have to look out for the health of our children. So the high school can be, or a middle school can be looked at when we deal with West Bay Primary and put that in the right order first.
Thank you. Our next question now is for Mr. Mervyn. If elected, what government sector or area would you like to be in control of other than education?
The Department of Labor, and I'm hearing conversations, and I'm sure you all too, about in particular a human resources authority. Now, let me just tell everybody here tonight. Our issue is with labor is that our immigration laws are not being enforced. Amen. We are losing the jobs as a result of the immigration department not enforcing the rules and regulations that they have, which are adequate enough, not ensuring that business staff and plans are adhered to. Those are the reasons that Caymanians who are qualified, who apply, who are ready to work can't get a job. And that's where I would take that issue.
Thank you. Mr. Burney, if elected, what government area or sector would you like to be in control of other than education?
Sports, youth, and culture. But I think it is due... Thank you. Sports, youth, and culture. But one time we had it correct, where we had education and sports together. It is time to put them back together. They work hand in hand. We have not, in no way or form, used the vehicle of sports to its full potential. When I was president of the Athletic Association, over 14 off on scholarships. When I was involved with the National Women's Program, 6 of those girls got off on national programs to overseas scholarships I'm talking about. If you put education and sports together and you identify certain people who you know have the potential, they work hand in hand, because we have to stop talking about the World Cup. We have to stop talking about those things. We have to talk about college education. We have to get our young people on scholarships to take some of the pressure off of the government here and take some of the pressure off of the private sector here. When you have schools that will give you $30,000 or $35,000 a year, we have some children going off and the parents are still looking money to keep them in school. Why? They're going to lower schools and they're getting $6,000 or $7,000 a year. I can speak for 2 or 3 people. $30,000 a year. Robert eBay, my daughter, $30,000 a year. And that's nothing to do with anyone here having anything to say. This is the university looking at a child that is an honor roll student and a good player and a good attitude and everything to go good with it. So if you put education and sports together, we can do wonders for our young people to get more education.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. Ms. Sarah, if elected, what government sector or area would you like to be in control of other than education?
Community development. I know my people, I know West Bay, and I know what problems we're faced with down here. Right now, our school, as mentioned earlier, I was the one that brought it up to the media and to the public as to what was happening at West Bay Primary. I think a healthy learning environment for our children is the most productive. However, we also need to engage again with the entities that are already in place in our community, the police, or non-profit organizations, or charities. These are, and churches, or church leaders, or community leaders. Right now, I am a professional of community development. I have my ears in that, and I've taken several students off the street. There is also a problem with child abuse. People don't even want to talk about it. The sexual abuse that is going on in some of the homes with these children. Nobody wants to say anything about that. I know about those things. I will straighten that up. We've had several times that nobody wanted to speak about those things because it was taboo in Cayman, just like it was taboo to speak about mental illness. And today it's come home to roost. So as far as community development is concerned, you're looking at your candidate that will solve that problem. And it's Sarah R.D. Banks.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. This is actually going to be our last question for this evening. We're all having such a good time we couldn't continue. But the question is, and it goes to Mr. Burney first, Ms. Sarah, Mr. Mervyn. Do you support the construction of a cruise berthing facility in West Bay? North, in West Bay North.
Off the turtle farm, plain and simple, yes. But how do we pay for it? We should not make the same mistake that Falmouth and Jamaica made, or down in the Bay Islands where they made the cruise lines, build them, and they control everything, and we get very little from it. We have all kind of pension money overseas losing money. Bring it back home and let us finance ourselves. We know it's going to make money, and we have to make sure that it is built in such a way that it's not mashed up every time we have a hurricane or a northwester. We have to do our research. But about doing it anywhere else, I am not right now, I've not been convinced, and I have to see the environmental stuff, or 7 Mile Beach we cannot take a chance with. So yes, down that side in West Bay North, Yes, next to the trout farm? Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Sarah, same question. Do you support the construction of a cruise berthing facility in West Bay North?
I would support anything that's going to give my people more employment and to enhance my community of West Bay. However, ladies and gentlemen, we have had so many studies right now. I think that the studies that have been done, everybody has a PhD. I think that right now we need to go do away with all this spending money on studies. If you have already gotten a study done 3-4 times, I don't see where out of those 3-4 times that we spent nearly $12 million that we can't get an answer by now. I think it's ridiculous that right now we want to continue to harper this thing about Georgetown Dock, Georgetown Dock. West Bay has the most tourism has to offer. We have the Cayman Turtle Farm. We have Hell. We've got Barker's. We've got the 7 Mile Beach. There's none like it in Barker's National Park if it's cleaned up and properly done. But we need to understand that right now that there's too much money being spent on studies to build a dock. Okay, by the time we get to the dock, we'll be back in debt again. I think that right now we need to go with one of the studies that have been done. And right now, as far as those docks are concerned, then if it's in West Bay, I will not be approving anybody coming outside of West Bay and working down there. I think that right now it should be worked by Caymanians, and it should be a Caymanian dock, and it should be paid for by the pension that is overseas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mervyn, same question.
Yes, sir. No, I don't support building a cruise berthing facility in West Bay. Let me explain. Right now, we got 2 central locations for cruise berthing. We got Georgetown Harbor, and then we have, of course, in Reed Bay. Here's the situation. The cruise companies already are squeezing our people. Our tour operators on the island can't make money now. Our taxi operators in particular are finding it difficult to survive. If we move a cruise berthing facility to West Bay, it only means one thing. We're going to have to pay for that over 20 years in some shape or form. Blank out. Number 2, those same tours that are then had from Georgetown and Reed Bay that keep the taxi and tour operators alive are going to go away primarily because most of those locations are so close that they will not be able to earn a living based on what the cruise companies, the pennies, the peanuts, anything you want to call it, that they are paying, and that they will ensure that does not go up. So personally speaking, I don't see the cruise berthing facility in West Bay to be of any real benefit. When you look on the coastline there, there's a major dive operations. The environment has to be considered. The properties along the coastline are going to be devalued as a result of a cruise berthing facility. It's not an enhancement. It is a place where you dock a very large ship and then it goes away. So I would not be supporting a cruise berthing facility.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back with closing statements by each of the candidates. Please stay tuned.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just burned my hand. Let's go to countryside and get the part I need for this, and I get this checked out.
Okay, but do you remember that Mom said you have to renew the car insurance? Get your car parts at Kirk Motors. Get your checkup at Savannah Medical Clinic. Look into your accounting needs at Relum International. Discover real estate opportunities at Tortuga Realty. And get insured at Cayman First. Countryside. Everything you need and more.
Welcome back to the West Bay Assembly of God, where we have the 3 candidates for West Bay North with us. I'd like to thank the audience, some outstanding questions, very lively discussion, good responses by the candidates. Now we're going to have the 2-minute closing statements by each candidate, and we begin as they are seated. We'll begin with Sarah Orette Ebanks.
Boy, by the time I leave here, I know I'm going to know what my name is, because you call me Sarah, Sahara.
Well, I'm Sarah R.D. Banks, and I'm going to be your candidate on the 24th of May, 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, the West Bay constituency, for far too long, we've been neglected in certain areas. It is quite obvious that right now that we need some changes in our leadership, not all. I'm not going to be in any way gung-ho and say to you that right now we need a clean slate. We have people in there already that already have experience, and we have to learn from them. We're not going to go in there as newcomers and new independent people thinking that we know everything. We are just getting into this game. And as far as I'm concerned, all of the last few months that I've been campaigning, I give all hands up and kudos to those people that have endured this for so long, because it does take a lot of your personal time up. However, I am prepared for that because I've been preparing for it for the last 18 years. I've represented my country and my Cayman Island, my constituency in West Bay for 18 years free of charge. Like my husband said to me once, I hate to bring him up, but I have to say what's true. Say the only thing that you are not doing right now is getting paid for what you've already done in your community. So I don't need any further ado to reintroduce myself to this community. I'm involved with my church, which is very, very important to me. And I think that anybody that has a Christian background and a Christian heritage in the forefront of their mind, this country will move further forward faster and in a very good way. I am also one of those people that have been involved heavily with the senior citizens. I provide free bus transportation every single day for these senior citizens to go to the bank, the clinics, and even to their appointments. Some people call me from their job place and tell me that right now my mama needs to go to an appointment. I am there to pick them up. If their children cannot get food, they don't have lunch money, I am there to pay for it. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, you know full well that Sarah R.D. Banks was the main catalyst behind the renovations and the West Sir John A. Campbell Primary School. There was no one else, and I would like to make that clear. I took those people on, and I won. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Mervyn Smith.
Got it right.
Sorry. And we'll again to the chamber and the sponsors, Mr. Moderator, and to the audience here, and of course those watching on TV. Thanks for coming and thanks for tuning in. I'm running this election for one reason only. It's not to get a job. It is to get in a position to be able to do a job. Like I said, since 2000, I've been involved in this process, and what we've seen is a steady decline in relation to our citizens. Economic gains that have been afforded to many simply have not trickled down. And unless you put someone in place who has the necessary skills, the understanding, and can speak to them today, you are not going to see that change on May the 24th. So I'm not promising that if I get there, I'll find a solution. I'm promoting solutions tonight. And I want you all to understand, many of our issues are as a result of our people not being gainfully employed. We've explored some of our issues tonight, and most of them come back to one thing: an inability of the individual to feel like they're a part of what's going on or to support themselves and their families. We need to ensure going forward that we evaluate throughout the island, and with a national audience, I say this tonight to everyone: evaluate your candidates. If they cannot tell you what initiatives they're promoting and what they're going to put in place today, then electing them on May the 24th is not going to bring the result that you desire, which is forward progress, and that's what I'm promoting. Thanks again and good evening.
Mr. Bernie Bush.
Thank you all very much. First, let me say thanks to God for putting me in this seat, and to the people of West Bay for giving me a chance. I was very humbled, and I'm very honored as one. Besides my children, this is the greatest honor I've had. And it has humbled me, and I'm telling you this. The last 4 years has been a learning experience sitting in opposition. I feel with all my past experience and the experience I have now after 4 years there, that I can serve you even better. I've heard a lot of these forums, and I've heard a lot of people saying, I will do this, I will do that. I have some bad news for all those that keep on saying I. The I cannot even bring a motion to the House by yourself. You have to bring it with someone. I have shown that I was willing to do it across the floor. How much other people have that ability? How much other people will get there and have people to work with? We have a manifesto that is ready to be shown to everyone. And the manifesto says what we intend to do in the first 100 days, in the first year. And I would like to say to you all that on May the 24th, do not make sound bites, do not make hot air, and do not make all of these grandiose ideas get to you. Mr. Smith said it best, you can do what you can afford. And I want to say to my two associates sitting up here, God bless, wish you all the best. And to the public out there, vote for someone who will stand for you and stand against some outside forces that are going to test our godliness and are going to test our culture. Vote for someone who has proven to stand up and will still stand. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the candidates as well as the audience. Some excellent questions. Now I turn it over to Paul Pearson for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Will. I would like to start off by saying thank you to the people of West Bay as a whole. This is my third forum, my last one, and I thoroughly had a great time, and you all are wonderful people, so thank you. On behalf of the Chamber Council, I would like to extend a special thanks to the candidates for participating in tonight's forum, and to the audience who have taken the time to come out and to submit their questions. We hope that the voters here this evening and watching at home feel more informed about positions of the candidates. I would like to thank Hurley's Media for broadcasting tonight's forum live to the Cayman Islands public via Cayman 27, and I would like to thank our other sponsors, the DART Organization, Deloitte, Foster's IGA, Heritage Holdings, and Puritan Cleaners. The next candidates forum will take place tomorrow night at Savannah Primary School in Newlands. The candidates will be Raul Gonzalez Jr., Wayne Panton, and Ava Suku. Remember to visit caymanchamber.ky for news on the elections and forums. You can find voting and voter ID collection locations on that site too. Thank you for supporting the Chamber Commerce Candidates Forums. Good night and safe travels home. Thank you.